Well, it's a beautiful morning, bright golden haze on the meadow. Mark 7:31. Then Jesus left the vicinity of Tyre and went through Sidon down to the Sea of Galilee and into the region of the Decapolis. Now, Decapolis is where he'd sent the man he'd healed from the legion of demons. Go and tell your friends and neighbours and family. And he spread the news through the Decapolis. Well, that's where Jesus is now. There some people brought him a man who was deaf and could hardly talk, and they begged him to place his hand on the man. After Jesus took him aside away from the crowd, Jesus put his fingers into the man's ears. Then he spit and touched the man's tongue. He looked up to heaven with a deep sigh and said to him, Ephphatha, which means be opened. At this the man's ears were opened and his tongue was loosed and he began to speak plainly. Jesus told them not to tell anyone, but the more he did so, the more they kept talking about it. The people were overwhelmed with amazement. He has done everything well, they said. He even makes the deaf hear and the mute speak. So, obviously the man with the legion has done his work. He spread the news around the Decapolis, and people now see him and bring to him a really tough case. A man who's been clearly born deaf. He can hardly speak. He can't speak clearly because he's never heard words clearly. And they want Jesus to heal him. It's interesting what Jesus does. He takes the man aside away from the crowd, puts his fingers in the man's ears, he spits, he touches the man's tongue. Jesus uses different ways of healing people in different situations. His friends bring him to Jesus. Now we need to bring people to Jesus, bring them to hear the gospel, speak the gospel to them as we meet them in the street and in the wayside, family and friends. Bring them to Jesus in prayer, bring them to Jesus physically. Talk to Jesus, beg Jesus, ask Jesus to heal them. He will often use different ways. Some are converted in church. Some are converted reading the Bible. Some are converted in a conversation with a Christian. Some are converted walking out in the countryside. Some are converted after many years. Some are converted very quickly. Some are converted with no Christian contact, God speaking directly to them. Jesus will use his ways, but they need to come to see who he is, the Son of God, what he's done. He's died for their sin. He's the one who can heal them of their spiritual deafness, spiritual blindness, spiritual inability to speak. We can talk, but we make senseless sounds without Jesus Christ. Jesus is the one who heals us from our sin by his life, his death, and his resurrection. The people are overwhelmed with amazement, and when a person is converted, and truly converted, it is overwhelming. Is our witness something that overwhelms others? If I'm a Christian, is it obvious? Maybe Jesus has a deep sigh about us. Are we living for him? Is it obvious that I'm a Christian? Does my life overwhelm others? Does it make people say that God has done all things well in healing us? What a statement by the people, though. He's done all things well. Absolutely he has. Absolutely he has. It's a prophetic word. There's not a blemish on Jesus Christ. He lived a perfect life. He did it for me. He did it to show us who he is. He did it to bless us. He's done all things well.